That sound, the one you just heard. The rotary dial pulling to the finger stop and releasing. The governor inside controlling the return. Each click precise, each click deliberate. The mechanical wheel settling back to zero with that weight in your fingertip and that rhythm in your ear. If you are over 55, you did not need to be told what that was. Your hand remembers the resistance. Your ear remembers the pace. And here is what almost no one realizes about that sound. Those clicks were not mechanical noise. They were data. Every click was your telephone number being transmitted as electrical pulses across the copper wire to the switching equipment at the central office. You were not dialing. You were encoding. The Western Electric Model 500, sitting on the kitchen wall in harvest gold or avocado green with its spiral stretch coil cord and its alphanumeric dial ring, was a data transmission device. The governor mechanism inside the dial assembly, a small braking device with a notched wheel and a pawl, controlled the return speed to exactly 10 pulses per second, because that was what the network required. Not faster, not slower. The satisfying weight you remember, the specific resistance under your index finger, was not designed for your satisfaction. It was a network specification. The sound was the system working. That is what this is about. Not the greeting card version of the past. Not a listicle of things only your generation remembers. This is about the sounds that filled the houses, the streets, the schools, and the offices of the period between roughly 1950 and 1980, sounds that were so embedded in daily routine that you stopped hearing them consciously, sounds that were not decorative, not ornamental, not designed for pleasure. Every one of them was functional information. The rotary dial clicking was your error check. The typewriter bell was your margin warning. The television warming up was a cathode ray tube reaching operating voltage. And when these sounds disappeared, they did not leave silence behind. They left an absence of mechanical feedback that changed the way human beings relate to the machines they use every day. Start with the house. Start with morning. If you grew up in a household that still received home milk delivery, and in 1950, roughly 40% of American fluid milk was sold through home delivery, you knew the sound before you knew it. Glass bottles on a concrete or wooden doorstep, placed there in early morning darkness. The clink of the fresh bottles going down and the empties being picked up. The milkman was not a charming luxury. He was necessary infrastructure. Before household refrigerators had the capacity to store a week's groceries, the cold chain that kept milk safe ran from the dairy to the truck to your door every morning or every other morning. When supermarket chains expanded in the 1950s and household refrigerator capacity grew, the doorstep delivery became redundant. By 1963, the home delivery share had dropped to about 30%. By 1975, under 10%. The clink went with it. And then the screen door. The wooden frame screen door with the coiled extension spring, that two-part sound, the spring stretching as a child pushed through, and the snap of the frame meeting the doorstop as the spring contracted and pulled it shut. Every slam was a specific piece of household data. Parents in pre-air conditioning houses knew how many times children had gone in and out simply by counting slams. It was free domestic surveillance. Central air conditioning adoption changed that equation silently. In 1960, roughly 12% of American households had central air. By 1973, approximately 49%. The aluminum combination door, with its pneumatic closer, replaced the wooden screen door, producing a quiet hiss and click instead of the twang and slam. And as air conditioning made open windows unnecessary, the screen door itself became unnecessary. The sound of a child exiting the contained world of the house and entering the uncontained world outside was replaced by the sound of nothing. Now step into the kitchen. The mechanical cash register, if your family ran a small business, or if you stood in any grocery store, drugstore, or department store counter in America between 1950 and roughly 1978. The National Cash Register Company, founded by John Henry Patterson in Dayton, Ohio in 1884, dominated this market. When the clock pressed a key, the rack and pinion mechanism displayed the price in the little window at the top, the numerical indicators popping up behind the glass. The total lever opened the cash drawer via a cam-driven release and simultaneously rang the bell. That bell, the original cha-ching, was not a celebration. It was a management alarm. It told the store owner or floor supervisor from 40 feet away that the drawer had been opened. It was a surveillance system embedded in a transaction device. The silence of the NCR 280, the first mass-market electronic point-of-sale terminal introduced in 1974, eliminated not a pleasant sound, but an entire accountability mechanism that had been functioning invisibly inside a familiar noise for nearly a century. Step out of the kitchen and into the living room. Evening. The television set of the 1950s and early 1960s was furniture. An Admiral, a Zenith, a Magnavox, a large wood cabinet with a small screen, rabbit ears on top, the TV guide on the coffee table. You turned it on and waited. On sets, manufactured through the early 1960s, the wait could be 30 seconds to over a minute. A bright point of light appeared at the center of the screen, then expanded slowly into a full image as the electron gun filaments reached operating temperature and the high-voltage circuits stabilized. There was a soft hiss, sometimes a high-pitched whine, sometimes a pop. You were watching voltage physics in real time. The dot expanding to fill the screen was a cathode ray tube becoming itself. The child sitting on the carpet in a living room lit by one lamp and the television, homework on a clipboard, was watching a machine reveal its own internal state. No modern device does this. RCA introduced its first all-solid-state consumer television, the XL100, in 1967, and by the mid-1970s, the warm-up sequence was effectively gone from new sets. Instant-on circuits kept the cathode at low temperature continuously, at the cost of standby power draw nobody thought about. The machine became faster by hiding its process. The transparency was the price. And when that television signed off for the night, which it did, because between approximately 1946 and the early 1980s, American broadcast stations operated on limited hours, there was a sequence, a station editorial, sometimes the national anthem, the station identification card, and then the Indian head test pattern developed by RCA in 1939, the specific graphic with its grayscale bars, its geometric linearity targets, its aspect ratio references, accompanied by a continuous 1,000 hertz tone. That tone was not ambient. It was a calibration reference for broadcast engineers. And after the tone, static, snow, the literal edge of the broadcast world. Television did not exist after midnight. The child who fell asleep watching and woke at 2 a.m. woke to the boundary of the media landscape. Beyond it, there was nothing. HBO launched as a satellite-delivered cable network in September 1975. CNN launched in June 1980. MTV in August 1981. By approximately 1985 to 1988, most network affiliates had moved to 24-hour operation, and the edge disappeared. The media world today has no edge. Nothing ends. That is worth sitting with for a moment. Now the telephone again, but the other sounds it made. The busy signal. That 60 interruptions per minute two-tone pattern, 480 Hz and 620 Hz, half a second on, half a second off, generated not by the telephone you called, but by the central office switching equipment. It was the network accurately reporting the state of the circuit. This person is talking to someone else right now. That was honest in a way that nothing in modern telecommunications is. Voicemail, first installed commercially by Gordon Matthews's VMX system in 1980, did not improve communication. It deferred it. Call waiting, introduced by the Bell system in 1971 and available to consumers from 1972, eliminated the circuit busy condition entirely for residential lines. By the mid-1990s, a generation was growing up without ever having heard a busy signal on a home phone. The network stopped telling you the truth about the state of the line. It started taking messages instead. And if your telephone was a party line, you knew a different sound. The soft click of a neighbor lifting their receiver to listen. In 1950, approximately 75% of rural telephone service was on party lines, a single circuit shared by 2 to 8 households, each with a distinct ring pattern. By 1960, roughly 60% of all American telephone subscribers still had party line service. Privacy on a party line was a negotiated social norm, not a technical property of the system. You knew Mrs. Henderson was listening because you heard the impedance change, the slight click, the subtle shift in the audio. It was the first social network, a shared information medium in which you could hear your neighbors' conversations simply by picking up the phone. The FCC and state utility commissions pushed private line conversion through the 1960s and 1970s. And by 1980, party line service was under 2% of customers nationwide. The click vanished. The eavesdropping moved to platforms that don't make a sound when they listen. And the payphone. The Bell system coin telephone, with its specific acoustic sequence. The coin dropped through the slot and struck the collector with a metallic ping. That ping was not random. The coin tone detector circuit verified the coin's denomination by its resonant frequency. Operators could distinguish a genuine quarter from a slug by the tone alone. Then a mechanical acknowledgement click, then dial tone. In 1999, there were approximately 2 million public pay telephones in the United States. By 2018, under 100,000. New York City removed its last conventional pay telephone in 2022. The sound of a coin buying you 3 minutes of someone's voice is gone from the American street. Step out of the house entirely now. Stand on a residential street in a suburban neighborhood, any year between about 1960 and 1975. Listen, the ice cream truck. The melody carrying 3, sometimes 4 blocks. And here is the counterintuitive fact that reframes the entire memory. The truck did not have better speakers than a modern ice cream truck. The Mr. Softy franchise, established in 1956, used a Nichols Electronics chime unit with a rotary tone wheel and amplifier. The melody it projected, composed by Les Wass in 1956, was the same wattage, the same equipment. What was different was the world receiving it. Residential streets of the 1960s had dramatically lower ambient traffic noise. Fewer vehicles, lower speeds, no HVAC compressors running outside houses, no double-glazed windows sealing them off. The EPA's Office of Noise Abatement and Control, active from 1972 until its budget was eliminated in fiscal year 1982, documented that ambient noise levels in typical residential areas have risen approximately 6 to 10 decibels since the 1970s. The same chime unit today would need to be on your block to be heard. The ice cream truck did not go quiet. The world got louder. That fact, by itself, dismantles one of the most persistent myths of this era, which is the idea that the 1950s and 1960s were simply quieter and more peaceful. They were not by measurement. The acoustic environment was different, with different noise profiles, mechanical and industrial, rather than the HVAC-dominated hum of today. But it was not the pastoral silence of nostalgia. The EPA's own data, collected before the office was defunded, confirms this. What was true is that individual sounds could carry further in residential areas because of lower street-level ambient noise. That is a specific, measurable fact. It is not the same as saying everything was quieter. Back inside, the office, the school. The IBM Selectric typewriter, introduced July 31st, 1961, changed the sound of professional writing. The Selectric replaced the sliding carriage with a rotating typeball element, and its sound profile was utterly different from the manual Royal or Remington. But the older machines, the ones in the typing classroom and the home study and the newspaper office, had two sounds that defined the rhythm of written language for decades. The margin bell, a small resonant metal disc struck by a mechanical hammer when the typist reached approximately 5 to 8 characters before the right margin. And the carriage return, the lever slammed to the left, which simultaneously advanced the paper one line and threw the 1 to 3 pound carriage back to the start. The slam was structural. Experienced typists in secretarial pools used the bell as a metronome, planning their word break by sound, not sight. Typing speed records depended on this acoustic loop. Over 13 million Selectrics were sold by the mid-1980s, but it was WordStar in 1979, WordPerfect in 1980, and Microsoft Word for MS-DOS in 1983 that ended it. The word processor's soft carriage return handled line wrapping without the typist's intervention. The bell became unnecessary. The Smith Corona plant in Cortland, New York, the last major U.S. typewriter manufacturing facility, closed in 1995. The bell was a margin warning. When word processors eliminated it, they did not just change the machine. They changed the rhythm of thought and the mimeograph. If you attended an American school between about 1950 and 1982, you know the smell before you know the word. The slightly blurry purple or blue text on thin paper. The cold, damp feel of the sheet when it was handed to you. The methanol-based ink from the Spirit duplicator. The machine made by A.B. Dick or Gestetner. Its drum rotating with a rhythmic, mechanical thump as sheets fed under it. That smell is one of the most powerful memory triggers reported by Americans who went through the school system in that era. And here is the complication the nostalgia leaves out. The methanol carrier in that ink was toxic at sustained exposure. Teachers who ran hundreds of copies a day were working with a chemical that current workplace safety standards would require ventilation controls to manage. The Xerox 914, introduced in September 1959, was the first practical plain paper photocopier, and its adoption through the 1960s in offices and the 1970s in schools replaced the mimeograph not only with better image quality, but with a dramatically safer chemical environment. The nostalgia is real. The chemistry was genuinely dangerous. Both facts coexist. The living room again, but now the car, the driveway. Friday night. The 8-track cartridge player, developed by Bill Lear from the Fidelity-Pack format in 1964, introduced commercially through Ford in-dash players in 1966 model year vehicles. The Mustang, the Thunderbird, the Lincoln. The specific sound was the track change clunk, a solenoid physically shifting the tape head to align with the next program pair when a metallic splice in the tape triggered it. And here is what that clunk actually was. The 8-track format divided the continuous tape loop into 4 equal-length programs, which meant albums were not played in their recorded sequence, but split across programs of equal duration. A song could be interrupted mid-word, mid-note, mid-chorus by the clunk, because the program change fell wherever the math put it, not where the music needed it. This was not a defect. It was the format operating as designed. Bill Lear pushed the format to market specifically to meet Ford's installation deadline for the 1966 model year, over the objections of engineers who noted the problem. The commercial decision overrode the engineering objection. Every clunk was the sound of that decision playing out in real time. The Philips compact cassette, with Dolby noise reduction making it commercially competitive by 1971, overtook the 8-track in U.S. sales by 1978. Ford discontinued factory 8-track players in 1984. The clunk's last mass automotive occurrence was approximately 1983 to 1985. Tell me if this prompt rings true. The drive-in theater, a warm night, the in-car speaker hanging on your window. That metal housing on the retractable post, low fidelity by design, individual volume control at the speaker head. At the drive-in's post-war peak in 1958, there were approximately 4,063 operating drive-in theaters in the United States. By 2023, approximately 300. They did not die because of television, though that is the common claim. Television was present as a competing entertainment medium for the drive-in's entire peak period without preventing that peak. What killed the drive-in was a combination of forces. Rising suburban land values that made the real estate more profitable as commercial development. The Uniform Time Act of 1966, which standardized daylight saving time and pushed sunset later, shrinking the viable show window for families with children. The energy crisis of 1973. And finally, home video, VHS arriving in 1977, which brought the movie into the living room and made the trip unnecessary. The FM radio broadcast system that replaced the in-car speakers at surviving drive-ins in the late 1980s delivered better audio through the car's own stereo. But the specific sound of that metal speaker, with its limited frequency range and its crackle, is gone from the American night. The teletype. If you ever walked into a newsroom, a brokerage office, a government communications room between the 1950s and the late 1970s, you heard it. The Teletype Corporation Model 28 or Model 33, a continuous rapid clatter of type bars striking paper, driven by incoming electrical pulses over dedicated leased telephone lines. 60 to 100 words per minute of incoming copy, clattering around the clock during active news periods. The machine had a bell, a single stroke for routine copy, and a 5-bell burst for an urgent bulletin. When a major story broke, every AP and UPI teletype in every newsroom in America rang its 5-bell alarm at approximately the same moment. It was a synchronized national notification. Nothing in modern media distribution works this way. Digital news is personalized, asynchronous, infinitely fragmentable. The 5-bell bulletin spoke to everyone simultaneously or to no one. The AP switched to computerized delivery beginning in the early 1970s, and by approximately 1980, most major newsrooms had transitioned to electronic terminals. The collective alarm fell silent. There is something underneath all of this that is worth naming directly. The acoustic ecologist R. Murray Schafer, who founded the World Soundscape Project at Simon Fraser University in 1971, described sounds like these as having keynote status. They defined the tonal character of an environment without being consciously heard, the way a musical tonic defines harmonic space without being constantly named. You did not notice the screen door spring until it was gone. You did not notice the rotary dial's rhythm until you picked up a push-button phone and something felt absent. You did not notice the TV sign-off tone until one night it simply was not there, because the station had gone to 24 hours and the media world no longer had an ending. The myth that needs correcting here is the one that says these sounds disappeared because technology improved. Some replacements were genuine improvements. The automatic washer was better than the ringer. The electronic flash was safer than the combusting aluminum flashbulb. But others were commercial replacements, not engineering ones. Voicemail added a deferral layer, not a communication improvement. The 8-track was replaced by cassette, not because cassette was perfect, but because the 8-track's own structural flaw was fatal. And some replacements are simply different trade-offs. The solid-state television that powers on instantly eliminates the warm-up sequence, but also eliminates the visible state of the machine. What actually happened across all of these is that mechanical feedback was systematically removed from the objects people used every day. The human factors engineer Donald Norman observed that the sounds mechanisms make our valuable feedback about their state, and that we have been eliminating them in the name of quietness without realizing we have eliminated important information along with the noise. The rotary dial told you it was transmitting. The typewriter bell told you the margin was approaching. The cash register bell told the owner a transaction had occurred. The television warm-up told you the system was stabilizing. The busy signal told you the line was occupied. Each sound was a machine reporting its condition to the person using it. Modern technology has not eliminated feedback. It has moved it. Your phone vibrates instead of clicking. Your screen flashes instead of warming up. Your keyboard plays a simulated typewriter sound through a speaker, a digital ghost of a mechanism it has never contained. We are surrounded by the synthetic echoes of sounds that no longer exist. That is not nostalgia. That is design philosophy. The Polaroid. One more. The SX70, introduced by Edwin Land in October 1972, brushed chrome and tan leather, the white-bordered print ejecting from the front slot after exposure. Edwin Land's stated intention was a camera system in which the final print would be available in 60 seconds. That wait was not a deficiency. It was the designed experience. Families gathered around the print as the image resolved slowly, from gray-green emulsion to full color through a dye diffusion transfer process visible to the naked eye. The group around the developing print was a social structure built into the chemistry's timeline. Digital photography made images instant and sharing asynchronous. You see it now, alone, on a screen. You saw it then, slowly, together, in the same room. Polaroid filed for bankruptcy in October 2001, and the management failures that led there were as significant as digital disruption. The company had developed its own digital camera technology by 1992 and failed to commercialize it. But that is a business story. The human story is the 60-second wait and the circle of faces watching the image appear. Some things we left behind were worth leaving. The methanol fumes over the mimeograph, the party line eavesdropping that was technically a violation of the Communications Act, but functionally unenforceable. The 8-track clunk interrupting the third verse of a song you loved. Some things were not worth leaving, and we left them anyway. Not by choice, but by the accumulated weight of technological transition, commercial logic, and a world that got louder by 6 to 10 decibels while nobody was measuring. The screen door spring, the milkman's glass bottles on the step, the television withdrawing at midnight, the 1,000 hertz tone, and then the snow, the edge of everything the broadcast world contained. The next time your phone makes a sound, any sound, a chime, a vibration, a simulated click, ask yourself what mechanical process it is imitating, because there was one, and it is gone. And the ghost of it is playing through your speaker right now, designed by someone who never heard the original, for someone who may never know it existed. If you carry one of these sounds in your body, Not in your mind, but in your hands, your ears, the part of memory that lives below language. Say which one. Say what it was. Say what it sounded like. Because the record matters, and the people who lived it are the record. Subscribe if you want the era told straight.